What about the randori? Just out of curiosity, again, I haven't ever had the opportunity to train with folks at a high level. In jiu-jitsu, there's different gyms have different styles, but I've noticed that at the highest levels, people can go pretty hard in a certain kind of way where it's more technical, and you're moving at 100%, but the power is not at 100%. It's a weird little dance. It's like you're not really forcing stuff. You're more focused on the right timing, the right positioning of hands and feet and body and all those kinds of things. You're not like forcing stuff in the way you would in competition, like really the power. Does that sound similar to you for the way you try to do randori?
So there's different styles of judo. And I'd say the Japanese style, the technical style of judo is exactly what you just talked about. It's almost like two guys in pajamas, right? We're using minimal effort, maximum efficiency. We're moving around and we're trying to feel that movement, and it's timing and finesse and technique and fun and clean throws. And when you train in Japan, you can train 15 rounds of randori, 5-minute rounds. That's 75 minutes of straight, sparring. You can do that straight in Japan without a problem. I mean, you'll get tired, of course. You're going to fall a lot. You're going to throw a lot. But it's very like free feeling. And it's technical, as you explained. But then when you go to Europe and you try to do rounds with the Europeans, they are very physical. They don't have that same finesse in their training that they do in Japan. And in Europe, you'd be hard-pressed to do 8 rounds of randori in a night. It's so physically exhausting because so much effort is going into just fighting and fending off the gripping system and the power of your opponent. You're physically drained after 8 rounds of randori. So it's a much different feel.
When you say Europe, do you mean Germany, France, Britain, Russia? Is there a lot? So there's a kind of similarity to all of those kinds of approaches.
The only difference would be Russia, that they do a lot more active drilling, a lot more sequential movement training. They don't focus as much on randori. You'll do much fewer rounds in Russia during training camps than you would in those other countries we just talked about, France, Germany, etc.
What about in this kind of American system where you have much less talent to work with? Do you just select whatever works for the particular athletes, or do you have something you prefer in your system?
So you need a combination of all of it. If you're going to win at the Olympic level, you have to be able to deal with the finesse of the Japanese, the physicality of the Europeans. You have to focus on the ground newaza aspect, because a lot of people are weak there in the world of the sport of judo. That's a chance to win. We've sort of developed our American system of judo, at least for the last, I'd say probably the last 20 years, it'd be the American system of judo, which relies heavily on taking the individual and whatever techniques they do, perfecting those techniques and the combinations and other throws that go with those throws, but then implementing and overlaying an American system of gripping, newaza, conditioning, mentality, training methodology, like in game planning, to beat your opponents. And I think that's the secret sauce to success for Americans, because there's no way, if we don't have 8 partners to train with in a night that are going to give us good rounds, right? We might have 2, so we got to have the same guy 4 times, those 2 people 2 times each. Now I have 4 good rounds. The rest of the rounds, I'm not being pushed to the limit. So we train differently. And a lot of times we do a lot of stuff like shark bait. When our athletes are preparing for competition, or for example, when Kayla or Travis were preparing for competition, we might only have 20 people in the whole gym to work out with, those 2 Olympic medalists, right? And of those 20 people, maybe 4 of them are Travis's size. Maybe there's only 1 girl in the room for Kayla. She's got to train with guys. And then the other ones are teenagers that are too weak to train with either one of them. Yeah. So what we would do is just put together 4 or 5 people that could, give them a challenge. And we'd line them up, and they would do a minute, a minute, a minute, a minute. And they'd do 5 minutes in a row as hard as they can. And that person can go hard for a minute with Travis or Kayla. They can't go 5 minutes hard, but they can go 1 minute hard. So it made their training much, much more intense, much more physically demanding. And then rinse and repeat that 6 times or 8 times in a night. They just got 40 minutes of intense randori. The person that was training with them that wasn't as good only had to do 6 or 8 minutes of training the whole night.
Yeah.
So
it's so difficult because then you look at like the Russian national team and you have just world champions. And so, or you even have like, what is it, Tom Brands and Terry Brands in the wrestling system. You have like these people. It's a small group of people, but they're all some of the best people in the world, and they're going head to head. And yeah, you don't necessarily get a good look and a variety of styles, but just the quality is there. And even that is missing for people your size in America, because and that is so difficult to work with, which it makes Scala's and makes Travis's story that much more amazing.